Good afternoon. My name is Odie Hawkins, and once again, I'm sitting in front of you to try to sell you some books. But before I get into the backstory, let me bring us right into the front. Zola Salena-Hawkins, who's standing right over there, is going to be sitting right here next to me. Would you please join me?
I certainly will.
You've heard the story 100 times, so I won't belabor you too much with it. But here's the way it started. I am the author of 38 published books. The first 17 of them were published by a publishing company called Holloway House. The less said about them, the better. That happened some years ago. The next 17, 18, whatever it is, we decided to publish ourselves. The reason being, after you've had a certain number of, I don't know if this happens to everybody, but after you've had a certain number of books published, you have people from requisitions departments in various would-be publishing houses, or whatever it is they call themselves, but let's call them what they is. They are making an effort to make a profit on what you've done. And the way it's done is that I'll start with this book, for example. This book called Matador Negro Azucar. Having been introduced to bullfighting when I was about 10 years old by way of a documentary about the life of Manolete, the great Spanish bullfighter. I'm from Chicago, and the bulls that you find in Chicago mainly in the stockyards. So it wasn't like we were finding loose bulls in the streets and I had to be a bullfighter and all of that. None of that happened. But after having been introduced to the bullfight at the World Playhouse, a nice documentary theater in Chicago, it just stayed with me. It just stayed with me for a long time. And occasionally, when I had a chance to go to a bullfight in Tijuana and also go to a bullfight in Mexico City, I began to become more and more interested in how I could tell the story of a person who happened to be an African American who also happened to become interested in toreo. And it was a hard sell, even for my brain, because I'm thinking, wait a minute, how can I convince people that they should be interested in something called bullfighting when most of the people I know are interested in boxing and shooting pool and doing other things.
Yeah, you might have some cowboys, African American cowboys that are into bull riding, but bullfighting is not.
Okay, that would be Deadwood Dick and the guys.
Right, one of the current cowboys.
Oh, the current cowboys, the Compton Cowboys. We got the Compton Cowboys. Anyway, having convinced myself at long last, way back in 2013, I decided to write this book, Matador Negro Azucar. Matador Negro
Azucar. Bring it a little closer so you can see.
Matador Negro is Azucar is sugar.
And the towing was done by Tony Gleason, and the cover on the back was done by Dima.
Tony Gleason. Oh, Nima Fasal. Anyway, I wrote that, and I don't know, other writers might tell you something else. They might say, I wrote this in order to appeal to a certain constituency, or I decided to write this because I wanted to have some people become interested in what I'm interested in, whatever the reason is. I wrote it with the idea in mind of showing how you could use one frame of reference to talk about something that only revealed itself through this particular frame of reference. Let me demystify what I'm saying a little bit. Bullfighters are in danger all the time. Every time they go to work, they're in danger.
Yes.
And frequently, they receive the coronada.
Right.
The
maybe their last day at work.
Maybe last day at work. could never tell. But one of the things that happens with the best and some of the worst too is that they're knocked down and they jump back up. Somehow this struck me as sort of like an analogy of how it is that African Americans living in America have frequently been gored by the bull, knocked down, dragged around, tossed around, killed, and yet we still pop back up. So those who might want to see this as purely a novel about a young African American who becomes so enthused with the idea of killing bulls that the only thing he thought about was killing bulls. There's something you were going to say.
Well, first off, before we go a little bit further, I suggest you get a little bit of libation.
On a hot day?
And especially on a hot day. And something you maybe snack on while you watch our video. Okay.
Hey, I like that.
Yes, it
Thanks.
is. Okay.
Okay, so I've told one piece of the story.
But with this one.
Yes.
You got it.
Can you can give it the back.
In the process of writing this book, the manuscript was done, and Odie was looking for an agent, and he happened to contact a gentleman had been interested in his work years ago. That person had semi-retired and was no longer being an agent, and he told him, "I have a friend named Manny Barron. Here's his number. Why don't you give him a call?" So Odie gave Manny a call.
Yeah.
Manny was walking down to his office in New York City. Said, "I'm walking to my office. I'll call you back." And of course, both of us, having heard that line, we're like, well, probably maybe next week. But sure enough, within an hour, Manny called Odie back, and Odie told him about Matador Negro Azucar. And he became interested. He said, "I don't know anything about the bullfight, but that's a nice subject. Why don't you send me 50 pages? So I sent him 50 pages after he acquired his email. And within a short time, within a couple of days, he said, "Send me the whole manuscript." So that's what we did. And Manny was enthusiastic, and he wanted to make Odie part of his, become his agent. Part of his group of folks.
Manny Barron, if I could interrupt just a second.
Go right ahead, please.
Manny Barron has credentials all over the place. He's a black agent, was a black agent. He passed. And he has credential from, I believe he was involved as editor of something at Scott Folsman or Harper and Row, or anyway, one of the so-called traditional publishing companies there. And the guy was so outgoing and so receptive that we hit it off. Never saw him. We talked on the telephone.
Our spirits met. Our souls.
That's about what it came
Our
down
spirits
to.
met, and so when we were at the height and get ready, to move forward, Manny found out that he was very sick. And he said, "Well, give me a minute, I'm going to fight this and I'll be back for you." But unfortunately, Odie came to pick me up from work, and I could tell immediately something was wrong. And then when he told me that he had heard that Manny had died, even I couldn't believe it. Because Manny Barron is that type of individual that is so full of life, he could never die. And so I'm sure for those who knew him, he will always be alive.
You think about, I know stereotypes sometimes can just put people in corners, but think about the idea of a top flight New York agent with contacts everywhere on everybody's desk, who's saying to you, well, here, maybe if you sort of change this little piece around, what agents do, what editors do. And early on, I learned how to resist too much editing and too much jockeying around, because if people are not coming from your same cultural frame of reference, sometimes they get it all wrong. You know, you can say, well, this character said what it is, and the guy says, no, isn't it, what is it? No, he wouldn't say what is it, he would say what it is. What is it is just simply, what is it? What it is being exposed to the atmosphere, what the temperature, what the emotional temperature of the city is, where can I get hold of some good herb? What is it means a lot of things.
And
Anyway.
Manny recognized that. That was the trip, that you would talk to him, and Manny would say, well, this was, if you said this must have been.
Oh, you're talking about when Monk released Epistrophe.
Yeah.
That's 1957.
Right. You know, he could identify with the culture that is in this book.
In addition, like I said, how many agents do you have who will make that effort to make you correct? We have no contract. We haven't even had a chance to shake hands unless we did it across the continent.
Right.
And this guy is constantly helping me. And I think...
And we have emails to prove it.
You know, I mean, that blows my mind whenever I think about it. And then, of course, he passed from that point on. I'm fast forwarding us from 2013.
Well, let me quickly say that, you know, we still had questions when the book came out. And so we belonged to an organization.
Los Aficionados de Los Angeles.
Hello, Jimmy. Hello, honey. Hello, all. And so we presented the book to them and it was received rather well. In fact, one gentleman who is a bullfighter,
a professional bullfighter,
mm-hmm.
His name is Obolja, Diego Obolja, and I thought it would be only proper to present him with a copy of the book because he was at a meeting of Los Aficionados on this particular evening. We didn't know that the man was having problems with
eye surgery.
Eye surgery, with lens.
I think the lens. Anyway, he was supposed to keep his eyes closed, basically, and not. He certainly wasn't supposed to read a book. But as a bullfighter and as a good book, he said he started, he couldn't put it down.
Okay, now I'm coming. I'm coming up to something that I have never even thought about, which was an authentic bullfighter reading the book. This man has been in the bull ring. He has earned his bona fides and everything. So he's made suggestions. And listen, there's something that could be covered with a sequel of this. This just leaves me hanging a little bit. So if I don't push you forward, I'm not trying to push you into anything. I'm just simply suggesting. I took a long, hard look at the suggestion and I came to the conclusion, yeah, you know, he's got a point there. Right. So in 2016, I finished, I can drag it up off the table if I came up with Matador Negro Azucar II. As you can see,
bring it up a little closer for you to see.
Tony Gleason did the cover, of course.
Tony Gleason, author and artist.
So,
side by side, there's one.
Fill up your bookcase.
It would definitely fill up your bookcase a little bit there.
Okay. We're going to bring this to an end in a few minutes.
Well, you should add a little bit about what the book is.
Well, I'll talk about a little bit what it's about. The bullfighter from Chicago winds up becoming, for a moment, a phenomenon.
Oh, by the way, in actuality or reality, are there black?
Oh, yes. Ever since the beginning of bullfighting, do the research. at the very beginning of bullfighting, as we know it in the 1700s, there was a man named who was considered the first bullfighter to have been killed by a bull. Ironically, it was what we would call a mulatto in South America, mulatto. So in America, of course, he was just going to be a light-skinned African American. But from the very beginning, as a matter of fact, the history of bullfighting in Spain comes from the occupation of Spain by the Moors. The Moors were Africans from North Africa. Mm-hmm. And they brought this particular art of sticking a bull with a pick, the picador. Originally, the picador was the main guy. He was the one who was considered the noble, and he had his peons going around waving capes to put the bull in position for him to pick it. But then, of course, the peons, being so ingenious, decided to start doing little clever movements with the capes to put the bull into position. And gradually, the thing changed over so that the man on the horse simply became a member of the crew. Mm-hmm. And the guy on the ground became the big cheese. Take that for a story if you want to.
There you go. I like
okay. Coming to the book itself, I want to read a few lines in it. But before I get to that, I've got to say this because it explains why we're on this corner. We have a friend. Well, we have several friends. I'm just going to stick with this one. He says to first Zola, not to me because he doesn't like to talk to me. He says to Zola, listen, what's this stuff I hear about Odie having 38 published books? She says,
yes.
Okay, he says, well, how come nobody ever heard of you?
Had to, because you're asking about it. So you've heard about it. And there are a few others who have heard.
Thanks. Okay, I'm going to say this. Some people know me as the UndergroundMaster. My friend says to us, you ought to change that. Okay.
Why?
Okay.
Working?
Well, okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. But dealing with a friend, you have to go for where a friend comes from. Say, okay, how can we do it? Because we do have people calling up saying, we can put your book out there. The only thing you have to do is send us $2,500.
And reissue
we can,
and do a video.
We can do all these kind of things.
And do a trailer.
We can make you a head of the movie studio and only pay you $400,000 a month. Mm-hmm. But we have to have your $1,200 input first. Okay.
A lot of scammers out
there. The friend says, in answer to our question, well, what would you suggest about publicizing the book you feel is being underpublicized? He said, why don't you do the kind of thing that the rest of the people do want to sell something? Get out there in the corner and sell it. So, we said it as a joke and as a fun thing. So, okay, when would you suggest we start? Say, how about tomorrow morning? I'll come over and help you set up. So we didn't wind up on that corner. We wound up on this corner. And as I said, honestly at the beginning, what we're making an effort to do is sell a few more of some books written by Odie Hawkins. Now, to end this, I'm going to tell you that this book, once again, is called Matador Negro Azucar II, about a young African American who decided to become a bullfighter and goes to Mexico in order to try to do it. And you could call it the adventures of, well, the young black man in Mexico, but there's more to it than that. I'm going to read a page or two just to give you some idea of
flavor.
What the flavor of the thing is. Why not? I'll start off with what his friends what his friends thought about what he was doing. This is a guy named Johnny Fox. I can relate to where Chester was coming from to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to be good at something, you have to practice. You know what I'm saying? The problem I had with this thing is that he wanted me, his ace, to help him practice by pretending to be a bull and charge into this piece of quilt he was waving around. I told him straight up, hey man, you gotta pay me. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what you're saying.
Ain't no way I'm gonna be acting like a wild bull unless I get paid. You know what I'm saying? If I had known that he was gonna blow up the way he did, I would have paid him to let me pretend to be a bull and charge that piece of cloth. You know what I'm saying? Bobo, tell you the truth. I thought the brother had lost his marbles when he started waving these bear towels and sheets around, or whatever he was raising around, waving around. We didn't know nothing, absolutely nothing about bullfighting. Absolutely and completely nothing. Leo Anderson, aka Raoul. I could dig where Pastor Chester was coming from. I really could. After all, I had copped to the tango. After seeing an old movie starring somebody named Dexter play Valentino about 10 times. 10 times. Count them on your fists. 5, 10. This lousy movie featuring Dexter, what's his name, struck a chord in me. Just the way that seeing this documentary about the great Spanish bullfighter Manolete lit a fire in Chester's gut. People laughed behind their hands at us, both of us. As far as the folks in the hoods could understand it, the tango was a white man's dance. The mambo was our dance. You know. This was during that time when Perez Prado was sticking rhythms from Africa into Jewish klezmer. Stuff like by Mille Bitch Duchesne was being reupholstered into high-powered hip swivels. That's the mambo, hip swivels. I don't know why, but for some reason I copped to the tango. I didn't have the time or the chops to tell our folks that I had researched the tango and found out that the black folks were the originators of this dance, that this had been a black dance form originally. Started off in Argentina with some black imported folks. I didn't have the time or the urge to argue with anybody about where the tango came from or where it was going or any of that nonsense. I felt the most important thing was to do my thing, and that was it. I thought that Chester felt the same way. And I'll let that go right there.
They're quite interesting young people.
Well, we'll see how interesting you think it is. Okay, just make one note.
You can get either or both of these books through Amazon. Just put in Matador Negro Azucar or Matador Negro Azucar II. And also they can be purchased through Author House, www.authorhouse.com. And I think you'll enjoy them. There's romance in here. There's adventure.
Yeah, they're not about animal torture.
No.
I've held that to a minimum, but there is a different kind of cultural context that you would have to be aware of, so that you would know that many Spaniards are not pro-bullfighter. Many Mexicans are not pro-bullfighter. So, you have a divergence of opinion concerning this art. The idea for me was simply to write the book.
And you did an excellent job.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. Say, where'd you get that thing from?
One of Jules.
The mother?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. She left you a storehouse.
Yes, yeah. Definitely.
It's
do
like
this.
if somebody ran and tried to stab you with a spear, they couldn't do it
I do Black Panther.
because you pull up that's a shield. I can see that. I can see that. Too good. Too good. Hey,
Thank you.
this is it for this. Oh,
Moment.
we missed the night. We were supposed to have done this last night.
Well, I posted today because usually we do it on Monday, and I posted on Monday night or on Tuesday. So I will post this tonight, and you get to see it tonight or anytime that you go on YouTube and pull up this A New Moon with Matador Negro Azucar 1 and 2. Okay. Thank you, peace and all that. Gonna go watch the debate.
Ah!
Ah.